Admiral Jindae stood on the command bridge of the Earth Defense Station, staring at the screens before him. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. The screens showed something that made every person in the room go silent. Ships. Thousands of them. More ships than anyone had ever seen in one place. How many? Jindae asked quietly. Tae-woo, the young communications officer, checked his instruments 3 times before answering. His voice shook slightly. 9,500 ships. Sir, they're holding position just beyond the moon's orbit. The bridge crew looked at each other. Some faces showed fear. Others showed determination. Captain Lee Hana, who commanded the fighter squadrons, stepped forward. She had flown in combat before, but never against odds like this. Our fleet? She asked. 340 ships, Jindae replied. Ready for battle. The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone knew the math. Everyone understood what those numbers meant. But Jindae's face showed no fear. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. A bright light flashed on the main screen. The alien ships were sending a message. Tae-woo worked quickly to decode it. When the translation appeared, he read it aloud. They call themselves the Vorlan Empire. They say we have 72 hours to surrender. If we refuse, they will destroy every city on Earth. Have they done this before? Asked Dr. Kang Mira, the chief scientist who had been called to the bridge. Tae-woo nodded. Yes, ma'am. Our long-range sensors picked up their communications. They have conquered 47 star systems. Most surrendered without a fight. The ones that fought were destroyed in less than a day. Jindae walked slowly around the bridge. He looked at each person, making eye contact. Send them our reply, he said. Tell them that Earth refuses their terms. Tell them we will never surrender. Several officers gasped. Lee Hana stepped closer. Admiral, with respect, we're outnumbered 30-1. Maybe we should— No, Jindae interrupted, but his voice was kind. Captain, do you know why I was chosen to lead this defense? Lee Hana shook her head. Because I know something the Vorlans don't. Something we've kept secret for 40 years. He turned to Dr. Kang Mira. Doctor, please explain. Dr. Kang Mira took a deep breath. In the year 2145, we found something on Mars. A probe. Not human, not Vorlan either. It was old, maybe thousands of years old. Inside that probe was technology we had never imagined. We've spent 40 years studying it, learning from it, and building with it. She pulled up images on the screen. The Vorlans think they're facing a primitive species. They think our weapons are simple. Our defense is weak. They're wrong. Everything we've built in the last 40 years was designed for one purpose: to survive an invasion exactly like this one. Jindae nodded. Activate Protocol Typhoon. It's time to show them what humanity can do. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden bases came to life. On the moon, massive hatches opened in craters that had looked natural for decades. Inside were weapons that had been built in secret, tested in secret, and kept ready for this exact moment. Around Mars, asteroids that seemed normal began to move, revealing themselves as disguised military stations. In the asteroid belt, hundreds of automated defense platforms powered up. The Vorlans watched all of this and laughed. Their commander, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms, stood on his flagship's bridge. They're activating their defenses, he said with amusement. How cute. They actually think they can fight us. His second in command, a smaller Vorlan with dark markings, looked worried. Commander, our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures. These weapons are not standard for their development level. Doesn't matter, the commander said, waving one hand dismissively. We have 9,000 ships. They have a few hundred. Even if their weapons are more advanced than we thought. The math is simple. We win. But back on Earth, Jindae was thinking about different math. He had studied every battle humanity had ever fought. He knew about the ancient Spartans at Thermopylae, He knew about the Vietnamese fighters who defeated a superpower. He knew that throughout human history, the smaller force sometimes won when they had the advantage of terrain, preparation, and the will to fight. "Admiral," Lee Hana said, "the fighter wings are ready. Just give the word." "Not yet," Jindae replied. "Let them come closer. Let them think they're winning." Tae Woo spoke up. "Sir, the Vorlons are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're telling everyone on Earth to evacuate the cities. They say the bombardment will begin in 70 hours. Let them talk," Jindae said calmly. "Meanwhile, I want every ship, every weapon, every defense platform ready. When they attack, we strike back with everything we have." Dr. Kang Mira approached the Admiral. "Jindae, there's something you should know. We've analyzed their formation. They're using a standard Imperial battle array. It's the same formation they've used in every conquest. They don't adapt. They don't change. They believe their way is the only way." A small smile crossed Jindae's face. "That's their first mistake. Over the next 70 hours, Earth prepared. Families moved to underground shelters. Supplies were distributed. But there was no panic. Humanity had been told the truth. There was no surrender, no retreat. They would fight, and they would win, or they would die trying." In space, the Vorlan fleet moved closer. They formed their battle lines exactly as they had done 47 times before. Their commander was confident. Their crews were relaxed. Many of them joked about how easy this conquest would be. On the final hour, Jindae gathered his command staff. "Everyone knows their role?" he asked. They all nodded. Lee Hana gripped her flight helmet. Tae Woo checked his communications equipment one more time. Dr. Kang Mira reviewed the weapons systems. "Good," Jindae said. "Remember, we're not trying to fight fair. We're trying to win. Use every advantage. Hit them where they're weak. Make them pay for every meter of space they take. And most importantly, make them regret ever coming to our home." He looked out at the stars, where the Vorlan fleet waited. "They sent 9,500 ships to conquer Earth. Let's make sure most of them never leave." The countdown reached 0. The Vorlan fleet began to advance. Their weapons powered up. Their shields activated. They came forward in perfect formation, just as they always did. And on Earth, Admiral Jindae gave the order that would change everything. "All units, engage. Show them what humans can do." The battle for Earth had begun. The Vorlan fleet moved forward like a silver wave across the darkness of space. 9,500 ships advanced in perfect rows, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. On the flagship, the Vorlan commander watched with satisfaction. This would be over quickly. "Fire on their orbital stations," he ordered. Beams of purple energy shot out from 1,000 Vorlan ships. They struck Earth's defense stations, which exploded in bright flashes. The Vorlans cheered. This was going exactly as planned. But Captain Park Suji, standing on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Indomitable, was not afraid. She watched the Vorlan fleet approach and smiled coldly. "Lieutenant Choi Han, are all ships in position?" Choi Han checked his tactical display. "Yes, Captain. All vessels are ready. They're following the retreat pattern exactly as planned." "Good," Park Suji said. "Begin the withdrawal. Make it look desperate." The Earth ships began to pull back. They fired a few shots at the advancing Vorlans, but their attacks seemed weak and poorly aimed. Several Earth ships looked like they were breaking formation, fleeing in panic. The Vorlan commander laughed. "Look at them run. Just like all the others. Continue the advance. We'll finish this before the day is over." The Vorlan commander laughed at the Vorlan commander. The Vorlan commander laughed at the Vorlan commander. The Vorlan commander laughed at 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 the Vorlan commander. The Vorlan fleet pushed deeper into Earth's space, chasing the retreating human ships. They moved past the moon, barely giving it a second look. It was just a dead rock. After all, what threat could it pose? That was their second mistake. On the far side of the moon, in hidden bases built deep inside ancient craters, Fleet Admiral Seote gave a quiet command. Lunar batteries, acquire targets. On my mark. Massive hatches opened across the moon's surface. Hundreds of them. Inside each one was a weapon that the Vorlons had never seen before. Railguns, huge magnetic cannons that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds. Each projectile was a solid piece of metal weighing several tons, moving faster than a bullet. Fire, Seote said calmly. The moon seemed to flash with light. Hundreds of railguns fired at once. The projectiles crossed the distance to the Vorlon fleet in seconds. They were moving so fast that the Vorlon shields barely slowed them down. The metal slugs punched through shields, through hulls, through entire ships. 800 Vorlon ships exploded in the first 10 seconds. On the Vorlon flagship, alarms screamed. The commander grabbed his chair as the ship shook. What happened? Where did that come from? The moon, his second shouted. The moon is firing at us. That's impossible. It's just Another wave of railgun fire swept through the Vorlon fleet. More ships exploded. The perfect formation fell apart as captains tried to evade. But the railguns kept firing. Again and again, targeting the closest ships with mechanical precision. Retreat, the Vorlon commander screamed. Pull back to defensive range. But as the Vorlons tried to reorganize, more threats appeared. Asteroids that had been floating in the belt for millions of years suddenly came to life. Panels opened on their surfaces, revealing missile batteries. Thousands of missiles launched at once, streaking toward the confused Vorlon fleet. Yun-Nari sat in the cockpit of her experimental fighter, watching the missiles fly past. She grinned. This was the moment she had trained for her entire life. Blue Squadron, follow my lead. We hit them while they're confused. 12 fighters followed her into the chaos. They were small, fast, and coated with special material that made them nearly invisible to Vorlon sensors. The Vorlons were so busy dealing with the missiles and railgun fire that they never saw the fighters coming. Yun-Nari targeted a Vorlon cruiser. Her fighters' weapons were designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in Vorlon shield technology. She fired, and the beam punched straight through the shield, hitting the cruiser's engine. The ship spun out of control, crashing into another Vorlon vessel. That's how you do it, she shouted. Keep hitting them. Don't let them recover. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Park Suji watched the battle unfold. The Vorlon fleet was in complete disarray. Ships were colliding with each other, trying to escape the kill zone. The carefully organized invasion had turned into a panicked retreat. All ships, advance, Park Suji ordered. Don't let them regroup. Hit them now while they're vulnerable. The Earth fleet, which had been retreating moments before, suddenly turned around. They charged into the Vorlon fleet with weapons blazing. The Vorlons had expected primitive missiles and laser weapons. Instead, they faced plasma cannons, particle beams, and weapons that seemed to ignore their shields completely. Lieutenant Choi Han watched his tactical display with satisfaction. Captain, we've destroyed over 2,000 enemy ships. Another 300 are heavily damaged and retreating. Keep firing, Park Suji ordered. We don't stop until they're gone. The Vorlon commander's ship was damaged, sparking and smoking. He stared at his screens in disbelief. How are they doing this? They're supposed to be primitives. His second-in-command pulled up data. Commander, their weapons are far more advanced than our intelligence suggested. And their tactics, they led us into a trap. A deliberate trap. No species has ever done this to us, the commander said quietly. Not in 47 conquests. Not once. Another explosion rocked the flagship. Commander, we have to withdraw, the second pleaded. We've lost too many ships. We need to regroup and analyze their capabilities. The commander wanted to refuse. The Vorlon Empire never retreated. But as he watched another 100 ships die on his screens, he realized he had no choice. Signal all ships. Full retreat to Mars orbit. Emergency speed. The surviving Vorlon ships broke away from the battle, their engines burning at maximum power. They left behind thousands of destroyed vessels, floating debris, and the bodies of Vorlon warriors who had thought this would be an easy victory. On Earth, Admiral Jin Day watched the Vorlons flee. Around him, the command center erupted in cheers. Officers hugged each other. Some cried with relief. They had won the first battle. But Jin Day did not celebrate. He knew this was just the beginning. "Damage report," he said. Taewoo pulled up the data. "We lost 43 ships. 2 lunar batteries are offline. Casualties are estimated at 12,000. 12,000 dead." Jin Day felt the weight of those losses. But then he looked at the other numbers. The Vorlons had lost over 2,300 ships, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of their warriors were dead. Dr. Kang Mira approached him. "Admiral, we captured data from their destroyed ships. Their shield frequencies, their communication codes, their tactics, everything. Analyze it," Jin Day ordered. "Find their weaknesses, because they'll be back, and next time, they'll be ready for our tricks." "What do we do now?" Lihana asked. Jin Day looked at the screens, showing the Vorlan fleet retreating toward Mars. His face was hard and determined. "We don't give them time to recover. We don't let them rest. We chase them down, and we finish this." "Pursue them?" Lihana asked in surprise. "But we've already won. They're running." "We haven't won until they're all gone," Jin Day said. "Every ship that escapes is a ship that might come back with reinforcements. Every Vorlon that survives will tell their empire what happened here. We can't allow that." "Not yet," he turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet for pursuit. We hit them again at Mars, and we keep hitting them until there's nothing left to hit." In space, the Vorlon fleet raced toward Mars, hoping to find safety. But they were about to learn an important lesson about humanity. When humans fight, they don't stop. When humans are threatened, they don't show mercy. And when humans decide to win, they will pay any price to achieve victory. The Vorlons had started this war thinking it would be easy. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. The Vorlan fleet reached Mars orbit in chaos. Ships were damaged, crews were exhausted, and their commander was in shock. He had never lost a battle before. None of them had. The Vorlon Empire had been conquering worlds for 500 years without a single defeat. Until now. "Establish defensive perimeter," the Vorlon commander ordered, his voice tired. "Get me a count of our remaining ships." The answer came back quickly, and it was devastating. 7,000. 200 ships. "Commander, we lost over 2,000 in the Earth engagement. Many more are damaged." The commander slumped in his chair. How could one primitive planet do this? But as he looked at the battle data, he began to understand. The humans had planned everything. The trap at the moon, the hidden weapons, the coordinated attack. This was not luck. This was strategy. "Send a message to the Empire," he said. "Tell them we need reinforcements. Tell them these humans are not what we expected." But before the message could be sent, something strange happened. Every screen on the Vorlon flagship went dark. Then they came back on, showing static. Then they went dark again. "What's happening?" the commander demanded. His technical officer worked frantically at his console. "Sir, something is in our system. It's spreading through our network. It's a virus. A digital weapon." Dr. Nam Yuna sat in a small room on a Earth command ship, watching code scroll across her screens. She smiled. The virus she had created was working perfectly. It had been transmitted through the debris of the destroyed Vorlon ships. When the surviving Vorlans scanned their fallen comrades for survivors, they had accidentally downloaded her program into their systems. "How's it spreading?" asked Commander Huang Jin, standing behind her. "Like fire," Nam Yuna replied. "Ship to ship, through their communication network. In about 10 minutes, half their fleet will have navigation errors. In 20 minutes, their weapons targeting will start failing. In 30 minutes, many of their ships won't be able to fire at all." Huang Jin nodded with satisfaction. He was a soldier, but he understood that this war would be won with brains as much as weapons. "Good work, Doctor. Now it's our turn." The Earth fleet had been following the Vorlons at a distance, waiting for the right moment. Now, with the enemy fleet crippled by the virus, that moment had arrived. All ships, attack formation, Captain Park Suji ordered. Target the disabled vessels first. Don't give them time to fix their systems. The Earth ships swept in like hunters closing on wounded prey. The Vorlons tried to fight back, but ship after ship found their weapons wouldn't fire, or their shields wouldn't activate, or their navigation systems were showing false data. One Vorlon cruiser, trying to turn and face the Earth ships, instead spun in a complete circle and crashed into its own support vessel. Both ships exploded in a ball of flame. Another Vorlon ship fired its main weapon, but the virus had corrupted the targeting system. The shot missed the Earth ships completely and hit a different Vorlon vessel instead. "This is incredible," Lieutenant Choi Han said, watching the chaos. "They're destroying themselves." Yoon Nari's fighter squadron dove through the confused Vorlon fleet, picking off damaged ships. Every shot found its target. Every attack left another Vorlon ship drifting in space. "Blue Squadron, form on me," Yoon Nari commanded. "There's a cluster of disabled ships near the Martian North Pole. Let's take them out." But while the space battle raged, Commander Huang Jin had a different mission. He stood in the cargo bay of a salt transport. Surrounded by 200 Marines, Kim Woo, his second-in-command, checked his weapon one more time. "You ready for this?" Huang Jin asked. Kim Woo grinned. "Been ready my whole life, sir." Their target was a Vorlon command ship that the virus had completely disabled. It was drifting, helpless, its crew trying desperately to restart their systems. They never saw the Earth transport approaching. The transport latched onto the Vorlon hull. Cutting torches burned through the metal. Marines poured through the hole. Weapons, ready. The Vorlon crew fought back. But they had never faced ground combat before. Their empire conquered from space. With overwhelming firepower, they had never needed to fight hand-to-hand, ship-to-ship, corridor-to-corridor. But humanity had been fighting wars like this for thousands of years. Kim Woo's Marines moved through the Vorlon ship like a storm. They used stun grenades to disable groups of enemies. They used their knowledge of ship design to cut off escape routes. They worked as a team, covering each other, advancing steadily. "Bridge is ahead," Kim Woo reported. "Heavy resistance." "Take it," Huang Jin ordered. "I need that ship's computer core intact." The fight for the bridge was brutal but short. The Vorlons fought bravely, but they were not trained for this kind of combat. Within minutes, Kim Woo's team had secured the area. Huang Jin rushed to the main computer. "Baek Ari, I need you here now." Baek Ari was the intelligence officer who had been studying Vorlon technology. She ran to the computer and immediately began pulling data. "I'm in their system," she said, her fingers flying across the controls. "Downloading everything. Battle plans, star charts, fleet positions, communication codes." "How much time do you need?" Huang Jin asked. "Give me 5 minutes." Outside the ship, the battle continued. More Vorlon ships fell to the virus or to Earth weapons. The neat formation they had used to attack Earth was completely broken now. Ships were scattered across Martian orbit, some fighting, some fleeing, some just drifting helplessly. Admiral Jin Dae watched from his command ship. The tactical display showed the situation clearly. The Vorlons had lost control of the battle. In just a few hours of fighting, they had lost 1,800 more ships. Combined with the first battle, that meant the Vorlon fleet was down to about 5,500 vessels. Still a huge force. Still more than enough to destroy Earth. But they were losing. And they knew it. "Sir," Tae-woo said, "we're detecting multiple ships trying to jump to faster than light speed. They're trying to escape." "Let them go," Jin Dae ordered. "Focus on the ones still fighting." But then Dr. Kang Mira spoke up. "Admiral, if too many escape, they'll report back to their empire. We'll face a much larger fleet next time." Jin Dae nodded slowly. She was right. "How many are trying to escape?" "About 600 ships, sir." Jin Dae made a quick decision. "Yoon Nari, take your squadron and as many fighters as you can gather. Stop those ships from jumping. Use the gravity disruption weapons." Yun-Nari's fighter raced toward the fleeing Vorlon ships. Behind her, 300 other fighters followed. They carried special weapons that Dr. Kang Mira had designed, weapons that created gravitational distortions in space. When the fighters fired these weapons near the Vorlon ships, the results were dramatic. The space around the Vorlons twisted and warped. Ships that were trying to jump to faster than light speed suddenly found they couldn't. The gravitational fields were too unstable. And while the Vorlon ships were stuck, trying to fix their jump drives, the Earth fighters attacked. One by one, the escaping Vorlon ships were destroyed. On the captured Vorlon command ship, Baek Ari finished downloading the data. "Got it all," she said. "Commander, this is incredible. The Vorlons have maps of their entire empire, lists of all their conquered worlds. And look at this." She pulled up a file. "This is their military doctrine. They use the exact same tactics every single time. Same formation, same approach, same strategy. They've never had to change because no one has ever beaten them." Huang Jin understood immediately. "Which means, once we know their pattern, we can predict everything they'll do." Wang Jin understand. FT. "Exactly," Baek Ari said. "We can stay ahead of them at every turn." Back in space, the battle was ending. The Vorlon fleet, what was left of it, was trying to retreat again. But Jupiter lay ahead, and Admiral Jin Day had one more surprise for them. Hidden around Jupiter were weapons platforms that used the giant planet's own gravity as a weapon. When the Vorlon fleet passed close to Jupiter, trying to slingshot around it to gain speed, those platforms activated. They directed powerful gravity beams at Jupiter's many moons and at the thousands of rocks in Jupiter's rings. The result was a storm of debris launched at incredible speeds, directly into the path of the Vorlon fleet. The Vorlons had no time to dodge. Rocks the size of buildings smashed through shields and hulls. Ice chunks moving faster than bullets tore ships apart. In the chaos, Vorlon ships collided with each other, trying desperately to avoid the deadly rain. 1,900 more Vorlon ships were destroyed in the Jupiter gauntlet. Admiral Jin-Day watched the carnage and felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. The Vorlons had come to destroy Earth. Now they were learning what it meant to face a species that had been fighting wars since the dawn of time. "Status?" he asked. Tae-Woo checked his screens. "Enemy fleet down to approximately 3,500 ships, sir. They're regrouping beyond Jupiter orbit. And our forces? We've lost 91 ships total, but our remaining vessels are combat ready." Jin-Day nodded. The numbers were still against Earth, but the momentum had shifted. "Continue the pursuit," he ordered. "Don't let them rest. Keep the pressure on." In the remains of the Vorlon fleet, the commander stared at his screens with hollow eyes. He had started this invasion with 9,500 ships. Now he had barely a third of that left, and the humans were still coming. For the first time in Vorlon history, their fleet was not the hunter. They were the prey. The Vorlon fleet was broken. What had once been a proud armada of conquest was now 3 desperate groups of ships, each trying to escape in a different direction. The commander's authority had collapsed. Individual captains were making their own decisions, and most of those decisions involved running as fast as possible. Admiral O'Day commanded the Earth pursuit fleet from his flagship. He looked at the tactical display, showing the 3 groups of fleeing Vorlon ships. One group was heading toward the outer solar system. Another was trying to circle back toward the asteroid belt. The third was making a desperate run straight out of the solar system. "Split our forces," O'Day ordered. 3 battle groups. Captain Ryu Mira, you take the northern group. Park Suji, you have the belt group. I'll pursue the ones heading out system. "Sir," one of his officers asked, "shouldn't we consolidate our strength? Dividing our fleet seems risky." O'Day shook his head. "The Vorlons are already divided. Already broken. They're not thinking like a fleet anymore. They're thinking like individuals trying to survive. We use that against them." Captain Ryu Mira was not just a ship commander. She was a specialist in psychological warfare. As her battle group chased the northern Vorlon fleet, she opened communication channels across all frequencies. "Attention Vorlon vessels," she broadcast in their own language. "The The translation software made her voice sound strange, but the words were clear. You came to Earth thinking we were weak, thinking we would be easy prey. You were wrong. The Vorlons tried to block the transmission, but Lim Suji, the electronic warfare specialist, kept reopening the channels. They couldn't escape the voice. Do you know why you were wrong? Ryumira continued. Because we are a species that has been fighting for our entire history. We fought each other for thousands of years. We destroyed ourselves again and again. And each time we rebuilt, we learned from every battle, every war, every defeat. In the Vorlon ships, crews listened. Some tried to ignore the words. Others couldn't help but hear. You thought your technology made you superior, Ryumira said. But technology is just a tool. What matters is how you use it. And we have used our tools to destroy over 6,000 of your ships. 6,000 ships that will never return home. The words hit like weapons. The Vorlan crews had been trying not to think about the losses. Now they were being forced to confront the truth. Do you know how many humans have died? Ryumira asked. 15,000. That's all. 15,000 of us for 6,000 of your ships. That's the exchange rate. And we can keep going. Can you? One Vorlan ship suddenly broke formation, turning to face the Earth vessels. It charged forward, weapons firing wildly. It was a suicide run, born of rage and despair. Captain Ryumira's ship dodged easily. 2 escort vessels destroyed the Vorlan ship with precise shots. That's what desperation looks like, Ryumira said to her crew. They're breaking. She opened the channel again. How many of you have families? How many of you have children waiting for you to come home? Think about them. Think about the fact that you're going to die here, far from home, because your leaders sent you to conquer a world they didn't understand. Hante, the strategic analyst, watched the Vorlon fleet's movements carefully. Captain, their formation is falling apart. 6 ships just broke off and are heading in different directions. They're panicking. Good, Ryumira said coldly. Fear is a weapon, and we're going to use it. Meanwhile, Captain Park Suji was engaging the Vorlon group that had fled to the asteroid belt. These Vorlons thought they could hide among the rocks. Use them for cover. It might have worked against a normal fleet, but the asteroid belt was Earth's territory now. Every rock had been mapped. Every hiding place was known. And many of the larger asteroids had hidden sensors that tracked the Vorlon ship's every move. Target coordinates uploaded, Lieutenant Choi Han reported. We know where every Vorlon ship is hiding. Then let's go collect them, Park Suji said. The Earth ships moved through the asteroid field like they owned it. Which they did. They knew every safe path, every dangerous cluster. The Vorlons, trying to navigate blind, kept running into fields of rock that damaged their ships. One by one, Park Suji's forces hunted down the hiding Vorlons. There was no dramatic battle, just methodical, ruthless elimination. Each Vorlon ship was located, targeted, and destroyed. 1,200 enemy vessels destroyed in the belt, Choi Han reported. About 300 are still trying to hide. Keep hunting, Park Suji ordered. I want every last one. But the largest group of Vorlons, about 2,000 ships, was being pursued by Admiral O'Day himself. These ships were the fastest in the Vorlon fleet, and they were racing toward the outer solar system, hoping to reach clear space where they could jump to faster than light speed. O'Day knew he couldn't catch them all before they jumped, so he changed tactics. Lim Suji, he called to his electronic warfare specialist. Can you block their long-range communications? Lim Suji worked at her console. Yes, sir. I can create a jamming field. Any message they try to send back to their empire will be scrambled into nonsense. Do it. O'Day ordered. I want them isolated. No calls for help. No distress signals. Nothing. The jamming field went up. Invisible, but effective. The Vorlons tried to send messages home, but every transmission was corrupted, turned into static and random noise. They're truly alone now, O'Day said with satisfaction. As the chase continued into the outer solar system, past Neptune, one group of Vorland ships made a desperate decision. 520 ships suddenly stopped running. They turned to face the Earth fleet, weapons charged. "Sir, they're forming a defensive line," an officer reported. O'Day paused. Surrendering enemies were supposed to be taken prisoner, according to the old rules of war. But these were not normal circumstances. He thought about the 47 worlds the Vorlands had conquered. He thought about all the species that had been enslaved or destroyed. "Open a channel," he said. "Let me talk to them." A Vorlon captain appeared on the screen. He looked exhausted, defeated. "We wish to negotiate surrender terms," he said in broken English. O'Day looked at him for a long moment. "I accept your surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The Vorlon captain looked relieved. "Thank you. We will—" "One more thing," O'Day interrupted. "You will share all of your military intelligence with us. Ship designs, weapon specifications, locations of Vorlon bases, everything." The Vorlon captain hesitated. "That would be betraying our empire. Your empire betrayed you when they sent you here to die." O'Day replied. "You have a choice. Help us and live. Refuse and die here with your ships. Decide now." The Vorlon captain looked at his crew, then back at the screen. "We will cooperate. I'm Usling. I'm one." 520 Vorlon ships surrendered. They were boarded by Earth Marines and taken into custody. But the remaining 1,500 ships kept running. They reached the edge of the solar system and prepared for their faster-than-light jump. But Hante, who had been studying their movements, suddenly spoke up. "Admiral, I know where they're jumping to. Their jump drives follow predictable patterns. I can calculate their destination." O'Day smiled. "Then we'll be waiting for them." The Earth fleet jumped first, using their faster drives to reach the Vorlon destination ahead of time. When the Vorlon ships emerged from their jump, expecting empty space, they found the entire Earth fleet waiting in ambush. The battle was short and brutal. The Vorlons, exhausted and demoralized, had no fight left in them. Their shields were weak from the long pursuit. Their weapons were low on power. They had been running for days without rest. The Earth ships tore through them like sharks through wounded fish. 1,760 Vorlon ships were destroyed in less than an hour. Only 20 ships managed to escape, jumping away before the Earth fleet could reach them. Back in the solar system, the other Vorlon groups were being hunted down. Captain Ryu Mira's forces destroyed the northern group. Captain Park Suji's ships finished clearing the asteroid belt. Every Vorlon ship was either destroyed or captured, except for those 20 that had escaped. Admiral Jin Day, commanding from Earth, looked at the final count. Out of 9,500 Vorlon ships, only 20 remained. Over 9,000 had been destroyed or captured. The invasion was over. "Should we pursue the last 20 ships?" Admiral O'Day asked over the communication link. Jin-Day was about to say yes. But then, he paused. An idea formed in his mind. A dangerous, clever idea. "No," he said slowly. "Let them go." Everyone on the command bridge looked at him in surprise. "Sir?" Tae-Woo asked. "We can catch them. We can end this completely." Jin-Day shook his head. "We need those 20 ships to escape. We need them to go home and tell their empire what happened here. We need them to spread fear across every Vorlon world." Dr. Kang Mira understood immediately. "You're using them as messengers." "Exactly," Jin-Day said. 20 terrified survivors, carrying the story of how Earth destroyed 98% of their fleet. That story will spread like fire through the Vorlan Empire. Every world will hear it. Every commander will fear it. He looked at the stars on the view screen. "Fear is a weapon too, and we're going to use it." Captain Lee Hana watched the 20 remaining Vorlon ships flee into the darkness of space. Her fighter squadron could easily catch them. Her weapons could destroy them, but she had her orders. "Let them go." "This feels wrong," her wingman said over the radio. "We should finish them. Trust the Admiral." Lihana replied. He has a plan. The 20 Vorlon ships raced away from the solar system as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. Inside those ships, the surviving Vorlon warriors sat in silence. They had seen their entire fleet destroyed. They had watched 9,480 ships die. Now they were running. And they knew the humans could catch them if they wanted to. But the humans weren't chasing anymore. On one of the Vorlon ships, a young communications officer noticed something strange. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. From the humans. The Vorlon captain, whose name was Thex, and who had survived by pure luck, listened carefully. A human voice spoke in perfect Vorlon language. This is Commander Park Jin of Earth Defense Command. We are transmitting this message to all surviving Vorlon vessels. You are being allowed to leave our system. You will return to your empire, and you will deliver our message. Thex felt a chill run through his body. This was not mercy. This was something else. The human voice continued. Attached to this transmission is a complete record of every battle, every tactic, every weapon we used, every mistake you made. We are giving you this information freely. Why would they do that? Thex wondered. It made no sense. You will show this data to your leaders, the voice said. You will show them how easily we destroyed your fleet. You will show them that humanity is not prey. We are predators, and we are coming. The transmission ended. Thex looked at his crew, seeing his own fear reflected in their faces. The humans had given them a gift. But it was a poisoned gift. A gift designed to spread terror. Back on Earth, Commander Park Jin sat with Song Nari, the xenolinguist who had helped craft the message. Do you think they understood? Park Jin asked. Song Nari nodded. They understood. Fear is universal. We just told them that their worst nightmare survived and is coming for revenge. Admiral Jindae stood in the command center, watching the last Vorlon ships disappear from the sensors. Around him, the staff was already beginning to celebrate. They had won. Earth had survived, but Jindae knew the war was not over. It was just beginning. Status report, he ordered, bringing everyone back to focus. Tae Wu pulled up the data. 9,483 Vorlon ships destroyed. 520 captured intact. We suffered losses of 147 ships and 21,000 casualties. The solar system is secure, 21,000 dead. Jindae felt the weight of each loss. But compared to what could have happened, it was a miracle. The Vorlons had come to exterminate humanity. Instead, humanity had crushed them. Begin salvage operations, Jindae ordered. I want every piece of Vorlon technology recovered and analyzed. Their ships, their weapons, their computers, everything. Dr. Kang Mira was already working on this. In the weeks following the battle, her teams crawled through the wreckage, pulling out intact systems, studying alien designs, learning from the enemy's technology. Admiral, come see this, she called one day. Jindae found her in a laboratory, standing in front of a Vorlon engine. What am I looking at? Their faster-than-light drive, Kang Mira said with excitement. It's more efficient than ours. If we can combine their design with our power systems, we could build ships twice as fast as anything the Vorlons have. Jindae smiled. How long? Give me 6 months. You have 4. Work began immediately. Earth's factories, which had been building weapons for the defense, now started building new ships. But these were not defensive ships. These were warships designed for one purpose: to take the fight to the Vorlon Empire. The captured Vorlon prisoners were interrogated. Most cooperated, knowing they had no other choice. They provided maps of Vorlon space, showing the locations of their worlds, their bases, their fleets. Baek Ari studied this information carefully. Admiral, the Vorlon Empire is vast. Hundreds of worlds. But they're spread thin. They rule through fear and overwhelming force. If we hit them hard enough, fast enough, their whole empire could collapse. Like pulling down a house of cards, Jindae said thoughtfully. Exactly. 6 months after the battle, Admiral Jin Day stood on the bridge of a new kind of ship. It was built using both human and Vorlon technology, faster and more powerful than anything Earth had made before. Behind it, 300 more ships just like it waited in formation. Earth's first expeditionary fleet is ready, Captain Lee Hana reported. She now commanded one of the new battleships. Jin-Day looked at his commanders. Park Suji, O'Day, Ryu Mira, all the officers who had won the battle for Earth. We gave the Vorlons a gift 6 months ago, he said. 20 ships carrying the story of their defeat. Now it's time to deliver the second part of our message. He activated the fleet-wide communication. All ships, this is Admiral Jin-Day. For 47 worlds, the Vorlons invaded and conquered without mercy. They enslaved entire species. They destroyed civilizations. They thought they were unstoppable. He paused, letting his words sink in. They came to Earth expecting another easy victory. Instead, they found something they had never encountered before. A species that refuses to die. A species that fights back. A species that wins. On ships across the fleet, crews cheered. Now we go to them, Jin-Day continued. We're not going for revenge. We're going to liberate the worlds they conquered. We're going to free the species they enslaved. And we're going to show the Vorlon Empire that Earth is not just a survivor. Earth is a force that will reshape the galaxy. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed, heading out of the solar system. Far away, in the heart of Vorlon space, the 20 surviving ships had finally reached their homeworld. They transmitted their data to the High Command. Vorlon leaders gathered to watch the battle recordings. They watched 9,500 ships arrive at Earth. They watched the trap at the moon. They watched the virus spread through their fleet. They watched the pursuit, the destruction, the absolute defeat. The room was silent when the recordings ended. How is this possible? One leader asked. They're supposed to be a primitive species. They were more than primitive. Another leader said quietly, studying the tactical data. They were prepared. They had been planning for this for decades. They knew we would come, but how could they defeat us so completely? The leader pulled up more data. Because they're a warrior species. Look at their history. They've been fighting wars for their entire existence. Wars against each other, but wars nonetheless. They understand combat in ways we never have. We've conquered through intimidation and superior numbers. They've conquered through strategy, adaptation, and sheer determination to survive. What do we do? The leader looked at the star charts, showing the location of Earth. We declare the Sol system forbidden territory. No Vorlon ship goes there, ever. And we hope they don't come for us. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. The data showed Earth building new ships. Lots of them. And those ships were not defensive. They were warships. Earth was coming. On the human flagship, Admiral Jin-Day stood looking at the stars. They had won the battle for Earth. But that was just the beginning. Now came the harder part. Building alliances with the species the Vorlons had conquered, liberating worlds, reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy. Dr. Kang Mira joined him. Do you think we're doing the right thing? Going out there, instead of staying home? Jin-Day considered the question. The Vorlons found us once. If we hide, others will find us too. But if we go out there, if we show the galaxy what humanity can do, maybe we can prevent the next invasion before it starts. By becoming what everyone fears? By becoming what everyone respects. Jin-Day corrected. Fear and respect are different. Fear makes enemies. Respect makes allies. He looked at the tactical display, showing the first target, a Vorlon military base that controlled 3 conquered systems. We start here. We hit them hard. We free the worlds they control. And we show the galaxy that Earth keeps its promises. What promises? Jin-Day smiled. We promised that we were coming. Now we deliver. The fleet dropped out of faster than light speed near the Vorlon base. Alarms went off immediately. The Vorlons scrambled their defense fleet, 50 ships strong. They never stood a chance. Earth's weapons, upgraded with Vorlon technology and human innovation, tore through the defense fleet in minutes. The base surrendered without a fight, its commander knowing the fate of the invasion fleet. On 3 worlds below, species that had been enslaved for decades watched as human ships appeared in their skies. Messages came in dozens of languages, all saying the same thing. You are free. Earth has come to liberate you. The 25 Lysays is that. Admiral Jinday watched the celebrations begin on the worlds below. This was just the first step. There would be many more battles, many more losses, but humanity had proven something important in the battle for Earth. They had proven they could not only survive, but thrive. Not only defend, but attack. Not only fight, but win. The Vorlons had sent 9,500 ships to conquer Earth. Only 17 made it home. Their mission failed, their empire shaken to its core. And now Earth was coming to return the favor. The age of human expansion had begun.